Princess Vexera stood on the black stone balcony, high above the arena moon, called Trial's End. She looked down at the wide circle of sand and metal, far below, where thousands of beings waited and watched. Her people, the Khazari, were tall and strong, with hard scales that shone like dark iron, and sharp spurs on their arms and legs. Vexara was their princess, and she wore armor made from the bones of old enemies, mixed with shining plates that caught the light of many suns. Today, she would choose her mate to make the peace with the new humans last longer. The treaty said the strongest must join with the strongest, so no one could break the words later. Many races sent their best fighters to stand in a long line for her to see. First came the insect warriors from the hive worlds, tall as trees, with blades for arms and eyes like red stars. They clicked their jaws and made loud sounds to show they were ready for battle. Next walked the crystal, beings from the deep void, their bodies clear and full of inner light that changed colors when they moved. They did not speak, but sent thoughts of power and endless patience into the minds around them. Then came the machine lords, heavy with metal and glowing wires, their voices deep like thunder from broken storms. Each one carried weapons that could cut ships in half, and armor that drank energy like water. The crowd cheered for every new fighter, and the air smelled of hot metal and excited sweat. Vexara watched them all with cold eyes. She wanted someone strong enough to stand beside her, but not so strong that he would try to take her place. Her advisors stood close. One old general with many scars whispered that the humans were small and soft. He said they broke easily and cried when hurt. Another advisor, a female with bright green scales, said humans were clever but weak in body. They used tricks and machines instead of real strength. Vexara listened and nodded once. She did not want a rival. She wanted control. At last the humans walked forward. Only one came forward alone. His name was Elias Kane. He stood shorter than most of the others, maybe 6 feet tall, with straight shoulders and calm face. His skin was pale like sand under moonlight, and his hair was dark and cut short. He wore simple clothes, a gray tunic and pants with no armor, and no big weapons showing. In his belt hung one thin sword in a plain black sheath. The crowd laughed loud when they saw him. Some pointed and made jokes about the tiny soft human who looked like a child among giants. Vexara felt her lips pull back in a smile that showed her sharp teeth. This was perfect. A weak mate meant she could rule alone after the joining. No one would question her when she pushed him aside later. She raised one clawed hand to stop the noise. Quiet, except for the low hum of machines in the walls. Elias stepped closer and bowed low with smooth grace. His eyes met hers for a moment. They were gray like storm clouds and very still. No fear showed in them, no pride either. Just quiet watching. Vexara spoke in a voice that carried over the sand. "Human, you come to offer yourself as my mate?" Elias answered in a clear, calm tone. "Yes, princess. I come to stand with you if you choose me." The crowd laughed again, harder this time. One insect warrior shouted that the human would snap like dry wood in her arms. Vexara ignored them. She walked down the steps to the arena floor, her long tail moving behind her like a whip. She stopped in front of Elias and looked down at him. He did not step back. She could smell him now, clean sweat and something like old steel and warm stone. She circled him once, slow like a hunter looking at prey. Thin, next to her, 7 feet of muscle and scale. No thick arms, no wide chest, no natural weapons. Just 2 hands and that small sword. She stopped in front of him again. "Why should I pick you?" she asked, loud so all could hear. Elias spoke without raising his voice. "Because I will not fight you for power. I will fight beside you when others come." The crowd roared with fresh laughter. Even her advisors smiled and shook their heads. Vexara felt pleased inside. This human knew his place. He would be easy to handle. She turned to face the Watchers and lifted both arms high. I choose the human Elias Kane as my mate. The sound that came back was mixed cheers and mocking calls. Some aliens threw small objects that bounced off the sand. Vexara did not care. She had what she wanted, a puppet to show the treaty was real, a weak thing she could ignore after today. Elias. He stood straight, still, calm. No smile, no frown, just waiting. She stepped closer and spoke low, so only he could hear. You will do what I say when we are joined. You will stay quiet and out of my way. Elias nodded once. As you wish, princess. Vexara turned away and walked back up the steps. Her guards followed, and the insect warriors and crystal beings left the line, angry that they lost. The machine lords powered down with angry clicks. The arena emptied slow as the crowd talked and argued about the strange choice. Vexara went to her private chamber high in the spire. She took off her heavy armor piece by piece and let servants clean the scales on her back. She thought about the days ahead. The Union trial would come soon, a fight where both mates must show they could survive together. She would carry the battle alone. The human would probably hide or run or die fast. It did not matter. The treaty would hold. Peace would last. Her rule would stay strong. She lay on her wide bed made of warm stone and closed her eyes. In her mind she saw Elias again. Small, quiet, still. She laughed soft to herself. This weak human would learn his place very soon. She thought he was nothing. She thought wrong. But she did not know that yet. The moon turned slow in the black sky outside. Stars watched silent. And somewhere below, in the guest quarters, Elias Kane sat alone. He took the thin sword from its sheath. The blade caught the low light and gleamed clean. He held it in both hands and moved it slow through the air. No sound came from the steel. Not yet. He closed his eyes and breathed deep. The trial would start tomorrow. He would be ready. The princess wanted a weak mate. She would get something else. Something old and patient. Waited for the right moment. The night grew quiet, and the arena moon slept under cold stars. Word count 1,200. The Union trials started at first light on the arena moon. Bright white beams cut through the dark sky and lit the wide circle of hard sand. Crowds filled the high seats again. Aliens from many worlds, packed close and loud. Vexara walked out first, her armor fresh and polished, her long glaive held easy in one clawed hand. The weapon was old and famous among her people. Its edge glowed soft blue from trapped plasma. She looked tall and dangerous, scales shining black and green under the lights. Elias followed behind in the same simple gray clothes. His thin sword stayed in its sheath at his side. He walked calm, no rush, no fear in his step. The announcer voice boomed over speakers. The trial begins to prove the chosen mates can fight as one, survive the waves, or fall together. The crowd roared approval. Vexara glanced back at Elias once. She saw his quiet face and felt sure he would break soon. She stepped to the center of the sand and raised her glaive high. Let the first wave come, she shouted. Metal doors opened in the arena walls. Drones flew out fast, small machines with spinning blades and red targeting eyes. They hummed loud and dove straight at Vexara. She laughed deep in her throat and swung. The glaive moved like lightning. It cut two drones in half. Sparks flew blue and hot. Another drone came low. She kicked it hard, sent it crashing into the wall. The crowd cheered her name over and over. Vexara spun and struck again. 3 more drones fell broken. She looked back to see what Elias did. He stood still, not far away. A drone flew at him fast, its blades whirring. Elias stepped to the side, smooth and quick. The drone missed and hit sand. Another came from behind. Elias turned, bent low, and let it pass over his head. He did not draw his sword. He just moved. Dodged left, ducked right, stepped back. Every attack missed him clean. The crowd started to laugh again. They pointed at the human who ran like a scared child. Vexara snarled loud, "Fight, you weak thing, or die with honor." Elias heard her, but kept moving. A drone shot energy bolts at him, small blue flashes. He rolled once, came up on his feet, and the bolts hit empty ground. Another drone charged straight. Elias sidestepped, grabbed its side with one hand, twisted, and threw it hard into two others. All three crashed together. Sparks flew everywhere. The crowd noise changed a little. Some stopped laughing. Vexara finished her last drones with one big swing. She turned full to Elias, breathing hard but strong. "You did nothing," she said, voice sharp. "You danced like a fool while I fought." Elias stood straight again, untouched, no blood, no sweat on his face. "I survived," he said, simple. "That is what was needed." Her tail lashed once, angry. "The trial needs both to fight, not one to hide." Elias met her eyes calm. "The trial needs both to live, not both to show off." She stared at him hard. Something in his voice made her pause. No fear, no anger, just fact. She turned away fast. The first wave ended. Gates closed, drones gone. The announcer spoke again. "Wave 1 complete. The pair stands. Wave 2 begins now." Bigger doors opened this time. Tall figures stepped out, armored in black metal with long energy lances. They were training constructs, made to look like elite warriors. Each one moved fast and sure. Vexara grinned wide. "Now you will see real battle," she said to Elias. She charged first, glaive spinning. She met the first construct, blade to lance. Sparks flew bright. She pushed hard, knocked it back, and cut its arm clean off. The second came at her side. She blocked, twisted, and drove. Her glaive through its chest. Metal screamed and broke. The crowd shouted her name louder. Elias watched for a moment. Then one construct turned to him. It raised its lance, energy crackling at the tip. Elias drew his sword slow. The blade looked thin and plain next to the glowing weapons. No light, no power, just steel. The construct lunged. Elias stepped aside again, smooth. The lance missed by inches. The construct swung again, wide arc. Elias ducked under, came up close, and tapped the side of its helmet with the flat of his blade. Not hard, just enough to push. The construct stumbled one step. Elias moved back, quick. Another construct joined the first. They attacked together, lances thrusting fast. Elias flowed between them. He did not strike to kill. He turned their moves, used their speed against them. One lance thrust too far. He caught it under his arm, pinned it for a breathing second. The construct pulled back hard. Elias let go, stepped away. The crowd laughed less now. Some whispered. Vexara finished her 3 constructs. She stood tall, chest rising fast. She looked over and saw Elias still untouched. The constructs around him circled, but could not land a hit. One thrust again. Elias spun his body low. Sword flashed once. He cut the power cord on the lance clean. Energy died. The weapon went dark. The construct froze, confused. Elias stepped past it, calm. Vexara felt heat rise in her chest. Not pride, not anger, something else. She walked over fast. The last construct near Elias raised its lance. Vexara reached it first, drove her glaive through its back. It fell, sparking. She turned to Elias, breathing hard. "You toy with them," she said. "You could end it, but you play." Elias sheathed his sword slow. "I end only what must end. More." Vexara stared. Her claws flexed. She wanted to strike him, to make him show real fight. But the wave ended. Gates closed again. The announcer voice rang out. Wave 2 complete, the pair stands. The final wave comes soon. Prepare. The crowd buzzed loud now. Talk of the strange human spread fast. Some said he was clever, some said coward. Vexara wiped sweat from her scales. She looked at Elias again. He stood quiet, sword back at his side. No mark on him, no heavy breath, just calm gray eyes watching her. She felt the first small crack in her sure thoughts. He should be hurt. He should be afraid. He was not. She turned away to face the closed gates. The final wave would come. Bigger, stronger, deadlier. She would crush it. She would prove she needed no one. Especially not this quiet human. But deep inside, a small voice spoke. Well, he sees too much. She pushed the voice down hard. The lights dimmed for a moment, then brightened again. The biggest doors opened slow. Something huge moved in the dark beyond. Vexara gripped her glaive tighter. Elias stood ready. The trial was not over, and the princess still thought she carried it all. She would learn different soon, but not yet. The sand waited quiet. The crowd held breath, and the next wave stepped into the light. Word count 1,200. Weeks passed after the Union trial on the flagship of the Khazari fleet. The big ship floated in deep space, far from the arena moon. Its halls were wide and dark, lit by red glow strips along the walls. Vexara spent her days in command or training. She dragged Elias to the sparring pits every morning. The pits were deep rooms with hard floors and high ceilings. Walls held racks of weapons, glaives, spears, blades of every kind. Her elite guards watched from the edges, tall Khazari in full armor. They stood silent, but their eyes followed every move. Vexara wanted to break him, or make him show weakness. She pushed him hard each day. First, she used wooden training sticks. She swung fast and strong. Elias blocked with his plain sword, or dodged. He moved quietly. No wasted steps. She knocked him down many times. He hit the mat hard, rolled, and stood again. No complaints, no anger, just up again. Ready? The guards laughed at first. They called him soft skin. They said he fought like wind, nothing to hit. Vexara joined the laughter loud. She slammed him again and again. His tunic tore at the shoulders. Bruises showed on his arms, dark purple marks. Still he rose. Days turned to more days. Vexara switched to real blades. She gave him no shield, no extra armor, just his thin sword against her glaive. She attacked. Fierce cuts that could split stone. Elias parried when he could. Most times he slipped away. His feet danced light across the mat. He never struck back hard, only blocked or turned her force. One morning she came too strong. Her glaive swung wide, angry. She overreached just a little. Elias stepped inside her guard fast. His sword moved quick. The flat side tapped her throat soft, not to cut, just to touch. Then he jumped back. Quiet. No laugh now. Vexara froze for one breath. Her hand went to her neck. No blood, no mark, just the memory of cold steel. She snarled and attacked again harder. Elias dodged, flowed away. He did not gloat. He just waited. After that day, the whispers started among the guards. They spoke low when Vexara was not close. They said the human learned fast. They said his eyes saw everything. They said maybe the princess chose wrong. Vexara heard some of it. She ignored them. She doubled the training. Now she brought 2 guards at once, 3 sometimes. They circled Elias, weapons ready. She told them to hold nothing back. They attacked together. Elias moved between them. His sword flashed now and then. He cut straps, knocked weapons aside. He never hurt deep, just enough to stop them. One guard lost his grip, sword flew across the room, stumbled when Elias swept his leg light. The third swung high. Elias ducked, rolled, came up behind, tapped the back of the neck. The guard froze. Training stopped. Vexara watched from the side, arms crossed. Her tail moved slow. She felt heat in her chest again. Not just anger now. Something mixed. Curiosity, maybe. Respect she pushed away fast. That night she could not sleep. She walked the ship alone. Quiet halls, empty except for low machine hum. She found the observation deck. Big windows showed stars, bright and cold. Elias was there. Alone. He stood in the center, sword in hand. No armor, no shoes. Just loose pants and bare chest. He moved slow. Forms from old human arts. Step, turn, slice, breathe. The blade caught starlight. It gleamed soft, almost hummed. Not loud, just a faint song in the quiet. Watched. He flowed like water. No rush, no force. Every move perfect calm. She stepped forward. Her claws clicked on the floor. Elias stopped, turned. He lowered the sword. "Princess," he said simple. She walked close, looked at the blade. Plain steel, no glow, no power. Yet it looked alive in his hand. "Why do you hide this?" she asked. "Why act weak when you can fight?" Elias looked at the stars for a moment. "On my world, some remember old ways, before ships, before plasma, before machines. We learned with steel and body. When tech fails, the old ways stay." Vexara laughed short. "Old ways mean nothing against real power." Elias met her eyes. "Old ways let us survive when nothing else does." She stared hard. "You let me think you were nothing. You let them laugh." Elias nodded once. "Sometimes the best strength is to be underestimated. It gives time. Time to learn. Time to protect." Vexara felt the words hit deep. She thought of the trial. How he danced, not fought. How he survived, not showed off. She turned away, looked at the stars. "You could have beaten me today in the pit." Elias sheathed the sword slow. "I could have tried, but I did not come to beat you. I came to stand with you." Vexara said nothing for long minutes. The ship hummed around them. Stars moved slow outside. She spoke low. "Tomorrow we train again, but different. You will show me these old ways." Elias bowed his head slight. "As you wish, princess." She walked out, her steps heavy. The doubt grew bigger now, not small anymore. She saw him clear for the first time. Not weak, not soft. Patient, dangerous in quiet way. She went to her chamber, lay on warm stone, closed her eyes. Sleep came slow. In her mind, she saw the blade catch starlight, heard the faint hum. She told herself it meant nothing. But deep down she knew. The human held something strong, something her people forgot long ago. The ship sailed on through black, and the training would change tomorrow. Vexara would learn. Elias would teach. Not with words, with steel. And the song of the blade would grow louder soon, but not yet. The night stayed quiet. Stars watched. And the princess started to question her first choice. Word count 1,200. The peace treaty broke on a neutral station called Harmony Hub. It floated between stars, a giant wheel of glass and steel where races met to talk. Lights glowed soft in every hall. Diplomats moved slow, in fine clothes. Vexara walked the main corridor with Elias at her side. She wore light armor today, no heavy plates, just scales and a short blade at her hip. Elias stayed quiet in his gray tunic, sword sheathed, simple as always. Guards from both sides followed close, Khazari and human mixed. The summit room waited ahead, big round table ready for words. Then alarms screamed, red lights flashed, doors slammed shut hard. Explosions rocked the station, far away at first, then closer. Vexara snarled and drew her blade. Traditionalists, she said, voice low and angry. They hate the human peace. They call it weakness. Elias pulled his sword slow, eyes scanning every shadow. The corridor filled fast with assassins. Wore black stealth armor, fin plates that bent light. Mono whips cracked in their hands, long strands that cut metal clean. Some held grav crushers, heavy orbs that pulled and crushed. They moved like smoke, silent and sure. Vexara charged first. Her blade met a whip, sparks flew bright. She twisted, cut the strand in half. The assassin fell back, but another took his place. She fought like Stormglaive, gone now, short blade flashing. She cut one across the chest, another lost an arm. Blood sprayed dark on white walls. But more came endless. Her guards fell one by one, spears broken, armor cracked. Humans fought brave, but whips sliced through their light armor fast. Vexara took hits now, scales split, green blood ran. A grav orb hit her side, pulled hard. She roared, pushed back, but felt bones crack. She stumbled, knee hit floor. Assassins closed in, whips raised. Elias stepped forward, back, until now. They saw him small human, no threat. One laughed deep in his mask. Another whip cracked at him. Elias moved. He flowed left, whip missed by hair. He drew the sword in one smooth pull. The blade caught station lights. Then it began to sing. Soft at first, rising note like wind through old steel. The sound grew clear, harmonic, pure. It vibrated air, made shields flicker. Assassins paused, confused. The song climbed higher, mournful, strong. Elias breathed once deep. Then he moved. No rush, no shout, just flow. First assassin swung whip. Elias turned body low. Blade rose. It cut the whip handle clean. The strand fell dead. The assassin stared. Elias stepped past. Blade whispered again. Cut through armor at joint. Blood sprayed. Second came fast. Grav orb humming. Elias spun sword. Met orb edge. The song peaked. Sharp note rang. Orb cracked metal. Split. It died quiet. Third assassin thrust mono blade long and thin. Elias parried. Steel rang against steel. The song held steady now like heartbeat. He pushed forward. Blade slid along the edge. Found gap under arm. Cut deep. Clean. Assassin dropped. More rushed. 5, 6, 7. Elias danced between them. Blade sang louder now. Echoes bounced off walls. Every strike precise. No waste. He cut power lines on armor. Shields popped like bubbles. Whips broke. Blades snapped. He moved like water around rocks. Never stopped. Never slowed. One tried to shoot plasma pistol. Elias stepped close. Blade tapped wrist. Gun fell. Then blade found throat soft. Quiet end. Vexara watched from floor propped on one arm. Blood dripped from her mouth. She saw it all. The human she called weak. The human she mocked. He dismantled elite killers. Less. Bodies lay around him, black armor cracked open. Blood pooled dark. The song faded slow, back to soft hum. Then silence. Elias stood in center, sword low. No heavy breath, no shake. Just calm. He looked at her once, then walked over. He knelt, offered hand. Vexara took it, clawed fingers tight around his. He helped her stand. She leaned on him, scales against skin. Her breath came rough. "You," she said, voice hoarse. Elias cleaned his blade on dead assassin's cloak. Careful, slow, ritual wipe. Then sheathed it. The song gone now. Station quiet, alarms off. Surviving guards limped close. Humans and Khazari stared at Elias. No laughs now, only wide eyes. Vexara looked at the plain sword, then at the man who held it. "Why?" she asked low. "Why hide this power?" Elias met her gaze steady. You needed to choose me for peace, not for fear. Needed time. Time to know you. Time to know if this alliance worth the risk. Vexara felt the words sink deep. She saw her own pride now. How she underestimated. How she almost lost everything. She gripped his arm tighter. Not in anger, in respect. The traditionalists failed here, their coup broken, but more waited out there. Vexara straightened slow pain, sharp but bearable. Then we finish this together, she said. Elias nodded once. Together. They walked out of the corridor side by side. Blood on floor, bodies behind. The station lights glowed soft again. Peace held shaky but real. Because one human waited, patient, quiet, until his blade began to sing. And the galaxy would remember that sound. Word count 1,200. The station halls stayed quiet after the fight. Smoke drifted thin from broken panels. Red emergency lights pulsed slow. Vexara leaned against a wall, one hand pressed to her cracked scales. Green blood stained her claws and dropped to the floor. Elias stood close, sword sheathed again. He watched the shadows, made sure no more assassins hid. Surviving guards gathered slow. Some limped, some carried wounded friends. Humans and Khazari worked together now, no words needed. They cleared bodies, dragged them to one side. Vexara pushed off the wall, stood straight despite pain. She looked at Elias long and hard. Her eyes narrowed, not in anger now, in wonder. She walked to him, slow steps, heavy. The plain sword hung at his side again. No blood on the sheath. He cleaned it perfect, like always. She stopped close enough to smell steel and sweat on him. Why hide it? She asked, voice rough from shouts and blood. Why let me think you were weak? Elias met her gaze, calm gray eyes steady. You needed a mate for the treaty, not a threat to your throne. If I showed strength first, you would have chosen another, someone you could control easier. Vexara thought back to the selection day, the laughter, the mockery, the easy choice. She saw her pride now clear like glass. She almost threw away the one who saved her. She looked down at the sword, plain carbon steel, no glow, no power runes. Yet it sang when needed. She reached out, slow clawed fingers touched the sheath. It felt warm from his body. Old, she said, quiet, very old. Elias nodded once. Forged on Earth centuries ago, passed down through families who remembered. When guns failed, when ships crashed, when tech died, steel stayed true, body stayed true, will stayed true. Vexara pulled her hand back. For the first time, not in size, in understanding. Her people relied on strength, on size, on fear. Humans found other ways, quiet ways, patient ways. She turned, looked at the broken hall. Bodies in black armor lay still. Whips limp on floor. Grav orbs cracked open. Her coup almost won. Because of her pride. Because she underestimated. She looked back at Elias. You could have let them kill me. Taken power for your people. Elias shook his head slow. I came to build peace, not steal it. If you fall, the treaty falls. War comes again. More blood, more death. I protect what matters. Vexara felt something shift inside. Not soft feeling, not weakness. Respect, deep and real. She extended her hand, open palm up. Claws retracted, no threat. Elias looked at it, then placed his hand in hers. Human skin warm against hard scales. She closed fingers gentle around his. Not to crush, to hold. Then sing again, human, she said low. Not for them, for us. Elias looked at her, surprise slight. Then small smile touched his lips, first one she saw. Only when needed, princess. He pulled hand back slow. She nodded once. Understood. The station security arrived late. They sealed hulls, called med teams. Vexara refused stretcher. She walked out on her own. Elias at her side. Guards followed close now, different. They looked at him with new eyes. No mockery, only caution and quiet awe. Word spread fast through the fleet. The human sang, the blade sang, the princess lived because of it. Back on the flagship days later, Vexara healed slow in medbay. Scales knit, bones set. She called Elias every day, not for training now, for talk. She asked about Earth, about old wars, about why humans hid strength. He answered simple, no boast. He told stories of knights, of samurai, of soldiers who fought with nothing left. She listened. She learned. One evening she stood at viewport, stars bright outside. Elias joined her, silent. She spoke first. The treaty holds now. Traditionalists broken. Your people and mine stand stronger. Because of you. Elias looked at stars. Because of us. She turned, faced him. Then stay. Not as weak, mate, as equal. Fight beside me. Teach me your ways. I will teach you ours. Elias thought quiet. Then nodded. I will stay. As long as you lead with honor. Vexara smiled, showed sharp teeth, but softer now. Honor I can give, and more. They stood together, ship hummed around them. Peace felt real for first time. Not forced, chosen. Months passed, news traveled galaxy wide. The Hazari princess and her human consort, they faced threats together. She with power and fury, he with quiet steel. When enemies came, blades sang again. Short bursts, just enough, never more. The song became legend, whispered in dark halls, feared by those who broke peace. Vexara ruled stronger, wiser. She listened now, she waited now. She chose patience when needed. Elias stayed at her side. No throne sought, no power grabbed, just loyalty, and the sword. One night on bridge, alarms sounded soft. Scout ships reported raiders, old enemies testing borders. Vexara stood tall, armor on. She looked at Elias, ready. He drew sword slow, blade caught light, then it sang. Soft rising note, mournful clear. Crew watched silent. Vexara felt the sound in her bones. She smiled fierce. Then let us sing. Together, they moved as one, to face what came. The galaxy watched and learned. Never judge human weak, because when needed, his blade begins to sing, and nothing stands against that song. Word count, 1,200.